Welcome to I Am Goddess Collective podcast, a sacred space for empowerment through modern magic, spiritual activism, and reclaiming your power. I am your host, Nixie Marie, feng shui practitioner, earth activist, and mystic, here to support and inspire your journey in becoming the change you wish to see in this world. That change starts within. Join myself and fellow thought leaders, metaphysical experts, and luminaries each week as we explore practical and magical ways to living in your highest alignment. Your journey as an empowered goddess begins here. Let's dive in. Hello, lovely ladies. Welcome back to another episode of I Am Goddess Collective podcast. I hope you're having a magical, blessed day out there. And if you're not, here's your message to radiate your love and be in full gratitude for where you are right now. And boy, do I have a good show in store for you guys today. We definitely shifted up some things over here. And I brought on my beloved partner, Cameron Van Peebles. And we dove into a conversation around our love life and the business that we're embarking on together, CLARYTI. And so it was just so much fun to have him on the show, bring on some masculine energy. And we had never done anything like that before. I've been trying to get him on the show for quite some time, and the stars aligned, and here we are. So it's exciting. We definitely just go into some of our relationship, like how we met, the synchronicities that have really led us to cultivating the business together and why we're really doing it, some backstory on what inspired CLARYTI and what the mission is behind it, and how both of our passions and our talents and our gifts and our dreams are sort of starting to merge together. And so whether spirit, our higher selves, or what have you, really brought both of our souls together to express a form of our love for the world and do something good for the planet. I don't know, but I think I do. I think that might be a big reason why, but we shall see, because this is just the beginning of a new adventure that we are embarking on, and we're very excited. So if you are looking to support our work and what we're creating together, you can go to our Instagram page at CLARYTI or head on over to our website, claryti.com, and that's CLARYTI.com. And you can either purchase a zero waste cleaning starter kit, or you can join our mailing list and get more insight and follow our journey. We haven't really officially done our launch yet. We've been really committed to growing slow and allowing for the time to manifest as it's naturally like it should, because this is something that we're both really wanting to do right and do with intention and build sustainably. So follow our journey there. And I'm excited. I'm excited to share with you guys a little insight on my love life and my partner. He's just truly such an amazing human being. And I've been excited to share more of him and to shine light on him, because he's been such a huge supporter of all of me and my creations and this podcast, and his patience with me doing multiple things all at once, and sometimes having to, fall into his arms and be caught by him when there's moments of frustration or sadness, or just needing to just feel safe. And I do want to just acknowledge him for being that for me, being that rock for me. And I am so blessed to be able to share this podcast and be like, yeah, this is my man. Like, this is my best friend. This is my lover. This is my partner in shine. This is someone who I've called into my life to really do all the work that I'm here to do, but honestly, just have fun. We have so much fun together. We have so many adventures, and there's so many more to come. And I can't wait for you guys to get a little deeper insight into his story and our story together. So before we get fully deep into that, I want to invite you guys to join our 7-day challenge. We've still got a few days left in that by the time this comes out. I'm just processing when this is coming out. But yes, you have a couple more days to sign up for our Goddess Self-Love Challenge. And the reason why, again, we were kind of bringing him on the show today is because it's Love Month, and we wanted to share a little bit of insight into our journey and how we love ourselves, and therefore how we attract love in our lives. So this 7-day journey, this Goddess Self-Love journey, is for you to dive deeper within yourself to love yourself even more. And you'll get an opportunity to win a Magic of I 2020 astrological planner and journal, which both of those are made of vegan leather. I'm kind of obsessed. Magic of I has just been such a beautiful collaboration relationship that we've discovered over the last month, and I'm really in support of their products. And so we're going to be gifting someone both of this, the planner and the journal. So if you enter in, go to iamgoddesscollective.com and that's /self-love challenge, or you can go to I Am Goddess Collective podcast, our Instagram page. Follow us, of course, because we have a very fun Instagram account, and you can just click on the link in bio and it'll directly link you to the form where you can sign up. The link will also be in the show notes below. So if you want to join, you're going to find it. Just go hunting for it, because I'm excited to show you guys this Magic of I planner, and also for you to work with it. And ultimately, love yourself, because that's the topic. That's what's in the air right now, even though it should always be the forefront of our lives, is loving ourselves. So this 7-day journey is just to support you get there. And if you have not yet left a rating or a review on Apple Podcasts, please head on over to Apple Podcasts now and leave us a little love if you've been feeling the love from us. We definitely appreciate it over here. It reminds me of why I continue to show up behind the mic and do this podcast, and it allows for more amazing women to be called into our circle and experience the medicine that it has given you. So without further ado, are you guys ready to meet my man, Cameron Van Peebles? Hello, sisters. Welcome back to another episode of I Am Goddess Collective podcast. I am pretty excited about who I have on the show today. I don't think you guys could even guess who I've got sitting next to me right now. But I'll give you one hint. He is not female. Oh, I gave it away. He is not female. All right, I'll tell you guys. I've got my lovely man, Cameron Van Peebles, on the show today. Hello, my love.
Hello, my queen. Well, if everybody's listening in real time, then you know it's Valentine's Day, or
This will be released before Valentine's Day.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, cool. Well, then they should know, because you're queen of programming. That would be apropos.
Yes.
So, yeah.
They're going to get, you'll probably find yourself listening to this on Valentine's Day, because that's generally what happens. The episodes come out, you listen to it as you please. But the reason why I do have Cameron on today is it is Love Month, and I've been trying to get him on the show we've been together for 3 years. So I've kind of planted some seeds here and there, but
you hit me up in Scottsdale on a hiking trip, and you're like, would you come on the show? And I couldn't think. Do you mean like starting the Cameron and Nixie show? And you're like, no.
Yeah,
no,
he thought
just
I was
on an
asking.
episode, and that was 2.5 years ago.
Yeah.
And you dropped it, so it must have been something wrong.
Yeah.
But evidently I made up for it by now.
Well, I did. I was asking for him to come on the show and sort of just share our perspective on relationships and how we navigate through our relationship personally, and also for you guys to meet him, because he's a huge part of my life and a huge supporter of all of the things that I do, especially this podcast and my creative endeavors, business endeavors. He's just an amazing human, so I'm really excited for you guys to meet him. So welcome to the show, babe.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Wow, I feel honored. We're here in our living room, and it looks different with the lights and the cameras and
the action,
the studio audience and everything. So,
yes, you guys are all sitting right in front of us right now.
Yeah.
Just beaming.
Oh, I see him. I see him.
Yeah, they're there.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah. So Well, I kind of want to start this off with just sharing with you guys how we met and how we ended up here. I personally, like 3 years later, when I first met you, I didn't really anticipate this is where we'd be. Did you?
No, but I did see you walking across the party that we're at and stop the conversation I was having. And I said, oh my God, that woman is a goddess. And no, I said, she's a masterpiece. And I left a conversation with somebody I hadn't seen in about 10 years and walked over. And I think it did okay because I set up, obviously a really good seed. So it took a little bit longer, but yeah.
It did. I was definitely not available at that time. And I was kind of like, who is this weird, creepy guy coming up to me? But he's also really sexy. So
it was quite like that.
I know. I'm just totally joking.
Also, I'm a really good dancer. So.
He did show me some dance moves, but it was very unexpected. And I currently was in a chapter of my life just coming out of a relationship and was really not ready for another one. I was really actually excited to be single for a while and heal from that one and navigate through life as a single lady. And you kind of just swung your...
I was like, nope.
Yeah, he definitely... he
did. That you're thinking, nope.
Yeah, he definitely was like, no. But it did take some time. I mean, just to give some backstory about like how we met and the synchronicities of our relationship, I think we have to share that because it's pretty magical. And this is a magical podcast. So we come from a community of friends, longtime friends, burners, and we've been literally at the same place, same time, many different times. And
yes.
Yeah, and with
stories that go back a long ways, or near misses, or maybe not misses, or wow, that was you kind of thing. Yeah,
just like not the time though. And I think that the beauty in how we finally met was like spirit or the universe or whomever was just like we were calling each other in, or we were always around each other, but eventually we were ready for each other. And it did take time. Like we met each other at that party. He came up to me and initiated the conversation. And then it took like 6 months. We went to Burning Man. We didn't go together. He camped across from me. And it was, we didn't really talk much. The only time I'm like, do I share this? How much do we expose? I think it's fair to say this because you guys all know that I do dabble in psychedelics, and the only thing I did come up to him and ask is if he had any psychedelics. And
then one other time you needed water, and I gave you water.
Yeah, I got very sick that one.
It's Burning Man, so that's you do that to every other person you talk to.
Yeah.
So, and that was a hot one.
Yeah. So anyways, we come from a very long lineage of friends and loved ones that Cameron has known for 20 plus years and me like 7 plus. So our energies were slowly merging together. And once I finally like saw him, which was the second Burning Man. So it took, no, sorry, not the second, it was after Burning Man. We went to Tahoe. It felt like a year after that. It was weird. Yeah. And we saw each other, and I saw him, he saw me, and I saw him into who he really is outside of his physical self. And I think our souls just really met and remembered. And from there, we haven't really, like, we took a little time, actually, a couple months after that. And then it was another fun night out, and 9 hours later in the bedroom, and that was pretty much it.
Well, it was... I think it was actually my lunchtime negotiation skills mixed with really good paddleboarding skills. If you know how to paddleboard in sub-zero water in a tropical Arctic lake in August, it's pretty impressive compared to other people flopping around you. So yeah, there was some of that. We had a really fun afternoon getting out and being adventurous and doing, some very cool stuff. So that's adventure brings people close together. It brings out character. Yeah.
So I have a question for this is like my one opportunity to really ask Cameron all the questions that I've ever wanted to ask.
It's a gotcha time.
I got you on right now.
Yeah.
What would you say, like, for us to be in this relationship now, I think is really special. And I think it's beautiful. It's taken, we just celebrated our 3-year anniversary, and I really hold my relationship with you very sacred. And I think that because it's been 3 years, it's an appropriate amount of time to come on and talk about a relationship, because we've kind of been through, okay, the honeymoon stage has dissipated, but it's also still very much there, like with our relationship. It's never really gone away.
Well, I didn't get the record. I didn't get the note about the dissipation or the honeymoon thing. I'm still on that vacation.
Oh, so. Yeah. No, we really have figured that really hasn't gone away, but it has really to some degree.
Well, it can't not, because
right.
It would be annoying if it didn't.
Yeah.
Let's be honest. So we've all been through a million, hopefully, or not, your choice, but, relationships. And there's many different phases that you go through. And it's super fun to be in the lovey-dovey stage and rolling deep and doing that whole thing. And you get the endorphins shooting from your brain, and you're doing all this stuff, and you're doing, frankly, a little bit of stupid stuff, and you're not being responsible to yourself or your people or, frankly, each other and all that kind of thing. And, I've been through relationships that are purely and only just that. And so that's not something that's a bad thing to get through the quote unquote honeymoon stage. Frankly, in the modern age, if you get to actually go on a real honeymoon, you shouldn't be in the honeymoon stage anyway. You should kind of be past that. That's like a 1952's mentality. Like, oh my God, I had sex for the first time last night. And now we're on vacation. This is so adulting. That's the honeymoon phase.
Right.
And the modern people.
I know. Why did we call it that?
Because in 1952, that's, you were 20, you were 19, you're getting through that. Now kids do it, on their dad's credit card and, a borrowed car when they're 15. Right.
Yeah.
But you still, you need those exciting times in your life to keep that up. But it can't just be that. Right. And there's not one phase that is that. There's the amazing adventures, and then the trust that you build, and then the other things you go. I mean, look, we just got back from 2.5 weeks in Thailand, and it was amazing and beautiful. And most people would think of that as a trip of a lifetime, only on something like a honeymoon.
Yeah. Well, it was. It was a trip of a lifetime for me.
It truly was.
Yeah.
And it was one of 3 or 4 we took last year like that. So,
yeah.
And with many more bigger plans to come.
Yeah. And I think that going back to just the question of being in all these different types of relationships and sort of the special element that we have, this gift that we have, this chemistry that we have. What do you think it takes for a person to finally get to that place to be in a healthy relationship?
So I think it has nothing. You can't say it's one thing for any person. It's finding your person with the balance between where you want to be in your life and having the things that you still want to have, that you like. Frankly, you need somebody with you that parties as much as you do, but a little bit less, right?
Yes, he definitely needed that.
The little bit less is the important thing, but not a lot less, and not a lot more, and not a little more, but a little bit less. And it's somebody that, can inspire you, but doesn't think about, you can get in the honeymoon lovey-dovey phase with somebody who you appreciate their opinions on stuff and challenge you, but it's not necessarily going to be a good mirror for you or to, those are the things that last in the long run. Right? You can be inspired by somebody, and there's no taking away from the power that has. But is it somebody you want to be with in the years to come? Yeah. Right? Because once that inspiration comes in and you accept it and you see it and you enjoy it, and then it becomes something else, right? So how do you find somebody that balances you out, right? Where you can look at each other, and there will always be times when there's micro conflict or things where I want to go do this and I want to go do that. And that's just natural. In fact, it would be kind of boring if you didn't have that, but it can't be such a contradictory thing. Like, you may be excited by something completely different than you. And yes, opposites do attract, but it's not necessarily something where it's going to complement in the long run. Which it's not a binary, law of the universe. Like, it could happen because, you can find complementary things in so many different ways. I mean, look at some of the very specific friends we have that you can think that are, wow, they're completely different in so many ways. but in the ways that matter, they're incredibly similar, and they complement each other. And, you know, I think it's, you know, a lot of it is, how do you complement each other on what you do on a Tuesday night? And then how do you complement each other on what you do on a Saturday night? And how do you complement each other on how you do on your dream opportunity to go do whatever you want in your world? And those are really like kind of the three scenarios of basic everyday life, right?
Right. Yeah.
You need to feel comfortable, safe, and secure, and just be able to decompress on, what is today's Monday? Yeah.
Yes.
So as we roll into Tuesday, we'll have a little tension on the Mondays, and then we roll into Tuesdays, and we're like at the heat, you know, the height of it. And then you roll into, you know, whatever, the hump day, Wednesday, if you have those kind of schedules in your life. But, and then you have your release times, which could be a Saturday, could be a Tuesday, could be whatever. And what do you go do to relax and also to express yourself, you know? And then what do you do as just an overarching, those times you get ultimate freedom and get to run amok around the world or whatever is your thing, and do those three things match up? And I think, you know, that's important. And they don't have to be exactly the same. And you can grow together as a team, which we definitely have.
Well, I think that's the part that I love about you most, and why this works for me personally, as me knowing myself. Like I tend to grow very quickly, and most of the time in past relationships, I grew out of the relationship because, you know, the other person wasn't able or willing or wanted to or had any interest in growing. And I think that the deeper layer of true relationships, that when you make a commitment to each other, you're committing to each other to grow and to change, because those two things are inevitable regardless in life.
Absolutely.
So it's always going to be a constant growth and change. And I think you've really, at least from this experience that I'm in now, to see and really make sure that that person is willing to grow with you. Like, I know I hear from, you know, women a lot, and we're speaking to women here. So to just bring it to something that's like relatable, I often hear women say, you know, well, my partner isn't spiritual, or he's not willing to grow, or he doesn't want to meditate or do anything for himself, and they find, you know, frustration around that. And to give some backstory on our relationship, like Cameron's not necessarily like so super uber spiritual. Like, he actually grew up, and you can share the story, but he grew up with real hippies. I did not. So we kind of have this like like swap balance where I went heavy into the hippie life, and he's just sort of gone on the opposite side of that and kind of bridged more of like a scientific approach to life.
Well, they say it bounces back generation to generation.
Yeah.
And I did. I grew up, I was born in a hospital in Florida, and then pretty much immediately taken to, my parents lived in Homestead, Florida, which is basically Miami. And then my dad was building a sailboat with his own hands from before I was born. And then we pretty much moved on that, and then sailed around a bunch, and definite Miami back then in 1976 was not even a real place. It was, the end of the world, where people were going, this bohemian art scenes. And yes, there was drug smuggling, and, it was mostly marijuana and stuff like that, which was incredibly sinful back then. And the whole thing.
That's crazy. Can you tell Cameron's older than me?
No, I'm the young one in the relationship.
Actually, he really is.
I really
We
am.
joke about that because he's really the young one. I'm the old one.
Yes.
But we're 13 years apart, which we'll get to that synchronicity in a bit.
But I'm going to Benjamin Button this thing and just reverse it all.
He is.
Yeah, totally. So, but I had the blessing to grow up with, my parents got divorced, but they were still very, very good friends. And then my mom went and had a very kind of traditional life in the Midwest in Cincinnati, and had a very successful corporate job. And so I got 50-50 bouncing back and forth between living in Ohio in the suburbs of Cincinnati and cruising around the Bahamas in the Caribbean in my dad's homemade sailboat.
Sounds awful.
Yeah, it was, and just learning massive adventures and almost dying so many times, and just massive adventures in all kinds of different ways. So, which has aided me in so many ways. and business and life and everything. And, people will occasionally freak out around me and ask, how are you so calm? And I say, we're not dying. And I've almost died plenty of times. So, and that was like in my childhood. So, I think how did I get to this? Openness to alternative ideas bounces back from generation to generation. And I have a few friends who grew up, actually one that I work with that grew up in Topanga here. Which is the epitome of hippie bohemian world. And she would even say this, she's completely buttoned up and in so many ways. And they, it just kind of bounces back and forth. But I luckily caught that middle ground, I think.
Yeah, you did.
And then I think it was our third date. And I took you over to Catalina Island. It was your birthday. And we sat down and we had a margarita or something. And I said, I was like, what are we doing here? Because compared to most people, I am just a crazy out there mega raver. But compared to you, I'm a tax accountant.
Yeah. It's like the best example.
Yeah. And, and for context, I work in digital advertising and I did okay DJing and touring for a while. So, I have, even in my day job, I'm a little bit back and forth. I'm basically an applied commercial artist. But you had a great response. You said, if I had somebody like me, I'd be off in the fairyland all day long and I need a little bit of grounding. And I said, yes, my mom told me some backstory. I had gotten divorced a couple years before. She's like, Cameron, you just need to find a nice accountant. And I said, no way in hell am I doing that, Mom. And so I told Nixie, I said, if I found that nice accountant, I would get some of the magic dragged out of me. And that's not what you want in a partner. So it was a good balance. And I think we knew it then. And that was 3 years ago, more than 3 years ago.
Yeah. Yeah. I definitely was calling in someone that was grounded because I had been spending, like I was through my entire 20s, I've been pretty much playing around in the fairyland, finding myself and, going into realms of different states of consciousness and really going out there and what we, I guess, would say woo-woo, but I'm really practicing not using that term anymore because I think that woo-woo gets to be like what's real and not seen as like outside, but that's for another conversation. But really, I mean, what you're saying ultimately, I think is really important for those out there to hear because your man doesn't need to be super spiritual for him to be with you. I think the prime example of like, you've got magic in you, you do, and I pull that out of you, and you pull the practical, realistic side out of me, which I have. And we're just this mirror for each other to see different aspects of ourselves that we maybe can't always access because we're stuck in that world.
Well, it makes for the fun Tuesday, right? Because what do you want to do on a Tuesday? You can, you have to have awesome, fun banter to throw back and forth, right? What are you going to talk about on a Tuesday when you're 29 or when you're 89, right? It kind of matters. Like, sex is amazing and fire is amazing, but frankly, at 89, it's kind of the conversation that's really going to matter, right?
Ooh, yeah.
So, if I was on the same plane, if I was reading the same books and following the same thing and excited about the same things, then we would have pretty much nothing to talk about, right?
Yeah.
Because you'd be like, did you read that in the book? Well, I read that in the book. Did you read that? Well, yeah, I read that too. And you just be like reciting the random stuff. But you come in and you'll say something, well, I heard this. And I'll say, I'm really interested in that. That sounds amazing. But and ask a question about how it applies to science or how it applies to this. Like, I'm not disbelieving it at all. In fact, I guarantee I'm definitely more of a believer in most of that than you. But I want to know, like, the energy around it. I'm a firm believer in that. What did we just watch? A little documentary on and I think they said only 4% of the universe is actual hard matter, but I think it's dramatically less than that, right? Because everything is truly energy flying around, and what we call magic now was, or rather, what we call science now was magic just a little bit ago. Just discover it. We can see the energies flying around. So how does that like, what's the reason behind it? I really want to know. Mm-hmm. And I feel like you get so much more out of any discussion around anything in that by asking the realities of it. Like you can do something or learn something that makes you feel good. And I feel like if you don't ask the why, then it's very selfish because you're only wanting to feel good and you don't really want to share how it can really impact the world. If you really want to share how it can impact the world, then help people apply it to other parts of their life. And they're not going to embrace it the same way you are. It might be meditation. It might be yoga. It might be this, might be that, but there has to be a Reiki or whatever, but there has to be some basis in scientific fact. Otherwise you're playing the telephone game and it's going to get communicated out. It's communicated out and it may feel the same to the people, but we're not really growing as a group or anything, or as a species. And that's a shame, in this amazing world of communication where we're actually beaming out our voices right now to thousands of people. So, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think at the core of that, you've challenged me to find my truth in what I believe in and stand in my truth around it. So it's invited me, he was big in debate in school. So there's a lot of debating. We don't really fight at all. Like we have moments, definitely, as as super healthy moments that I will say.
I'm a lethal weapon, so I don't pull that out very often. My debate skills come. It's
usually a debate though. Like it's mostly a debate. And I'm not really a debate. I don't think I'm a debater. I'm not really it's not like my strength.
I'm a master debater.
He's pretty freaking good. So I just learn, and I will say to him, "Look, I'm not debating you about
and I think this
isn't debatable."
So I just think it's fun, and I'm having
what's interesting though afternoon. Is at first when you would ask me why about my belief systems, I would get triggered, super triggered, and I would be like,
"Is not my intention at all."
Why would he ask me? He's doubting me. But what I was being triggered on was the reflection of me not being confident in my truth.
Because
so I'm thinking he's questioning,
you at all.
Right?
I wasn't questioning you at all. I was having a conversation. I was interested, honestly and thoroughly interested, and that's how I have the conversation with you.
Yeah. But at the end of the day, everything. Whenever someone asks you why you believe in that, or give me the facts, or this, like what I've learned from this experience, within that is to, do your research. Like actually, invite the why in because I've invited that why in. I now do have something to come out with him and say, well, because this, and this, and it only helps me grow as an individual. So I think it's just important for, those of you sisters out there who are calling in your divine partner or a sacred union or whatever, or are in one right now and want to grow together or, and I want to be very clear, like I don't really agree with this whole like Instagram worthy relationship, in the spiritual world. Like it's really beautiful to see, I think, a couple go through those things together, but just be discerning of what you're seeing out there, because I think it's really, really important. Like when someone comes into your life and you have that chemistry and it makes sense. I mean, we don't make sense like on the exterior, but we're starting to mold together and make sense, and it's all coming together.
Well, we do, right? Yeah, we do. And I get what you're saying. And I think that, on a little bit of paper or, if you saw us together, you would totally think it makes sense, right? And then if you saw the passion we have for each other, it totally makes sense. And our friends, when they first saw each other, like, oh, this totally makes sense, right? But I think when we got it, again, it was our third date. And it was more like, oh, okay, does that make sense internally? Exactly. Separate from the Instagram boyfriend, girlfriend thing.
Yeah.
Right. Where they're popping out and we're in Bali and look at the oil on our skin. And we have tons of those pictures, but we don't put them, honestly, we don't put those out there because that's not really us. But it was our third date, which was, probably an average person's ninth date. Where that was it was a private conversation that we had about that, about, future and commitment and all that, even that early,
Yeah.
Probably because everything was so powerful and you can get sucked in so quickly to something that is, there's nothing wrong with a 3-month relationship. They're super fun. And, people have to have them from time to time. Everybody should. But then, you get in and you find something that is, you can definitely see going the long run. And so you have that kind of check-in. Yeah. And an island, a beautiful day, and a margarita doesn't hurt. So,
so just coming from like a woman's perspective, kind of getting on some questions I have to ask. I mean, there's so many things that I feel like I want to pull out of you, because you have a lot of amazing stories about your life, and I want to ask those, but I also want to keep it, about us, and also just about how women, because women are always looking for their, there's so many women out there that are wanting to call in the one and be with a partner. And at the same time, I think women, for the first time, were being very discerning about, who we sleep with, who we're sharing energy with, especially those who are on a more conscious, woke, I'll say, path, which is silly. I love that word though. And I think that I want to hear from you, like what do you, as a man who is driven? I mean, you check off a lot of boxes, and I'm super blessed for that. But I also check a lot of boxes off too. I'm pretty fucking awesome.
That's right. That's true.
So at that though, like, what exactly is a man that has the boxes, that is looking for a partner? Like, what is it? Something that you were looking for? Is it something that you saw in me, or was it just something that like you knew that you wanted? Or like, what exactly can a woman, I don't want to say can a woman do, because I think that gets into like some very interesting, sectors. But I think at the end of the day, like, what is a conscious man, or someone who's like wanting to go the distance? Like, what are you looking for?
Yeah. So it's the same for a woman and a man, that if you want to have whatever you're looking for, if you're looking to find your person, or you're looking to have a really good social life, or you're looking to go out and frankly get laid that night, the thing is to not focus on it, and to focus on you, and to do some amazing stuff, and find your thing and get into it, and find the people that are into it, and to really focus on that. And that builds a richer you and takes your attention off of that, which makes you incredibly sexy to everybody else, because you just don't care. That doesn't mean you don't walk up to a beautiful woman at a party and start talking to her at all, because you would just
Should we walk up to beautiful men?
Yes, absolutely. Yes, absolutely. But you just don't need to feel it sounds like a cliche to not feel desperate, but so many people, and so many beautiful people, you walk up and they're clearly focused on either finding somebody or finding somebody that night. And that's all they're focused on. Mm-hmm. And then you see through them in about 30 seconds and you're like, okay, yeah. Or maybe take them for that night, or, whatever. Like, and we live in Los Angeles, so it's a very transactional place. Yeah. People move here, and they, and so there's a cycle of people coming in, and there's the old saying, right? If you're somebody, move to New York. If you want to become somebody, move to LA. If you want to pretend to somebody else, move to Miami. Right. So that's a dig on Miami, because I'm from there. But anyway, so we're getting off track a little bit. But the point is, focus on yourself, focus on doing amazing, cool things, and the right people will find you.
Yeah, I think that was what I really wanted to pull out too. Was just being you, like being in love with what you're doing, because that's really how this happened. I mean, I was on the dance floor, you were on the dance floor, I was doing what I love, you were doing what you love, and I think that's where love attracts. Like when you're in your pure bliss, when you're happy, when you're alive in your passion, you attract not only a relationship, but more other amazing things into your life, whether that be, a partner that you want to spend your life with, or a friendship, or your tribe, or even opportunities, because you're attracting that frequency. And, you don't have to believe in anything to know that is real,
Yeah. And it's not just, we're talking about love, but life is filled with relationships of all kinds. Right. So you're talking your friends, you're talking your friend's family. that it becomes so important to you. You're talking, you know, the people you do business with or your neighbors next door and those kind of things. And you have to worry and focus on attracting all those people, the quality people into your life. Right. And, you know, you are the median of the 5 people you're closest with. Right. So look around you and, you know, be guarded to who you let into your core, but, you know, focus on building a very large group around you. And you can only do that if you're, you know, very passionate again about about being out there and doing something fun and amazing. And, you know, for me, it was always a passion with music and event production and, you know, getting out there and, you know, being exposed to as many things as I could and meeting as many people as I could and, you know, growing and, you know, I didn't really ever worry about a social media presence. I mean, I didn't even see, you know, social media until many years after I started.
Oh, come on. You were a MySpace whore.
I was massive on MySpace. I had 36,000 friends on MySpace. But I think honestly that was a benefit for me now because I fully got over that. Like I couldn't care
I'm
less.
taking that on for both of us now.
I know you are. I pull your phone away from you and you know, in bed at night.
But see, again, with the balance, like if I had someone who was also just as like had a presence on social media, we would both be sitting there on our phones. Like you pull me out of that when I need to, and I'm so much better for it, you know. And again, that's where the balance comes in. And I do want to share our story of balance because that has been sort of the foundation of our relationship since day one. And what we also discovered, so we're 13 years apart, and I think it took like a couple months into dating, we were off on he was taking me off on the old boat that he had, this power boat. And we were spending, what was it, like Labor Day weekend or Memorial? It was a holiday weekend out in Malibu. We were docked out there.
Yeah, that was Memorial Day.
Memorial Day weekend. Who knows? One of those holidays that give you an excuse to go on a boat and dock out. And and I was in my bathing suit and we were sitting there and holding each other, and I actually was not in my bathing suit. Let me correct that.
You weren't.
I was definitely not. We were.
Days.
No, I was like, what am I saying? And we looked at one of my tattoos and it has a balance and then the number 13. And so to backstory that, we met on Friday the 13th. That was when he first came up to me at the party. And his birthday is August 13th. And we're 13 years apart.
And I was born on a Friday.
And he was born on a Friday. So it's interesting. And I got my tattoo on Friday the 13th. So the thing is too, that's really, for me, I look at all things, right? I'm always immediately going into what is the numerology and like geeking out on all that. And 13 is actually the number of the divine feminine. It was, you know, taken away from patriarchy to basically show that women don't have power in that regard. So they basically took it and said, this is a bad number. We should all be spooked out, like Freddy the 13th, like made it all scary. Like this is just many layers of the patriarchy. And, you know, Cameron's kind of giving me a weird face right now going, what is she talking about?
You said Freddy the 13th, not Friday the 13th.
Well, there I go again. I have a thing with I'm just super dyslexic, so I mix words up and say the wrong thing all the time. So he loves to joke with me about that.
Yes, I do.
But no, I think it's really, really interesting. And what's so important about this story is that you've got to follow the breadcrumbs and follow the signs, because usually these signs, like the signs of magic that exist right in front of you, if you're not paying attention to them, you might be missing that person that you're looking for. Like you said, you know, if you're out there looking for somebody, you might be missing them because you're not in your body living life and loving what you're doing. So, I mean, I really appreciate how that was all unfolding. I mean, we had no idea, and who knows what that number will bring for us. Next.
Well, it's a good point, because there's also times when you're receptive to things like that, right? Like we all have times when we go deep and have to plan and focus, and you know, you have times when you can breathe, and then you have times when you're just heads down and working so hard, right? And so we did come together at you know, a very good and specific time where we were both breathing a little bit, I think. So, you know, there's a lot of, you know, synchronicities there too. and they have the ability to hold that in and to find each other then, and then to go deep, and then to find, when we do go deep, then it brings us even closer together, because a lot of people, it wouldn't. And a lot of people, well, when they're open, they want somebody who's, can hold them when they have to go back in, go deep in planning or working or, whatever it is. So yeah, there's timing too, along with everything.
I think timing is everything in life. Absolutely everything. And just kind of going into also, we both live really busy life. I mean, we're constantly working. Yes. We're definitely workaholics to some degree, but we have a pretty good work-life balance. Like, we know when to have we work hard and we play hard. Let's just put it that way. Yes. And
we plan hard and we dream hard, and
we do.
A lot of the work is on stuff. We're lucky enough, and this is a massive blessing, to both work really hard now on things that are happening now, and then also work really hard on things that are coming in the future. And I would even say work on things that are coming even past that.
Yeah.
So that's an amazing blessing. But the aholic part comes with
it's
passion,
it's more of a
passion, and all those things. I was just going to
say passion. Yeah, it's a passion for life, a passion for the love of what we do. And I will say, it's not often easy. I mean, to have a partner that's busy. He travels a lot, and I don't really travel yet. I anticipate I'll be traveling, taking this podcast on the road, Or
on the ocean.
But then I'll be with you.
Right.
That's the point.
Yeah.
I mean, but at the same time, like, I know there's those of you listeners out there who can relate to a partner who travels a lot, or maybe a partner who is really busy, works a lot, and you do too. But it's like, where do we find the balance in our relationship, and where do we find time for it? And I think we just don't worry about it that much.
Yeah.
I think we allow for it to happen, and we've had a few hiccups. Actually, we had one recently about that. Just honoring each other's time and really knowing when to, not try to take each other's time, because at the end of the day, it's really stupid. But the most times that we ever fight, is actually because we want to spend time together.
That's true. Yeah.
So it's stupid.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just like, we love each other a lot, and we're each other's best friends, and we love to just like share everything with each other. And I think that's the other part, like, when you're in a really beautiful, healthy relationship, one that you feel really confident is going to go the distance, or just someone you actually genuinely like and want to spend time with, when they're like your best friend, that's special.
Yes, I completely agree.
Yes. Like, I really like hanging out with you. You're a cool guy.
It's a good point.
Yeah.
Because you can love somebody and not like them. And you can definitely like them and not love them. You can want them and not like them and not love them. And you can like them and love them, but really don't want them. And I like you, and I want you, and I love you. Yeah. And so, yes. And it's not always perfect, but no. But you're right that, in the rare case that we do have, it wouldn't even be a fight, it'd be a tiff, is usually a miscommunication about time we want to spend together. So that's a blessing too.
Yeah. And we, like you said, dream a lot. And within those dreams, so Cameron has been a boat guy his whole life. He, like he said, got pretty much right off what was it, like, out of a hospital straight pretty onto much. A boat,
out of the womb.
So naturally, I actually grew up in Orange County, so we had boats, and I was always around the water. So the water, he kind of brought me back to the water, because there's, when you're in your 20s, like so many of you I know are out there in your 20s, you can't even stop to think about living yet. Like, you're in the freaking shit of like life, trying to make it work and trying to make it happen. And so you're not really focusing on things that bring you joy, because you're like, I'm just trying to figure out my life right now, and with you kind of came in and brought me back to one of my core loves, which is the ocean. And so, we sit here and we nerd out all day on like ocean plans and sailing, and you have really brought that out in me. And I think that also is another important element that you've got to look at when you have a partner, is are they bringing out the best in me or are they bringing out the worst in me?
Yes. Yeah.
Because I've had both.
Yeah.
And I'm an ugly, crazy bitch if someone brings out the worst in me. Luckily, you've never seen that. I don't think.
Is that Trixie?
Trixie, I don't, yeah, you guys know I call my other fear self Trixie, but no, Trixie's more like she plays tricks on me, but no, it's more like when someone like deep in my core, like wants to push that button and knows when to push that button. Like to me, that's overstepping a boundary.
Yeah.
And it's important to be in check within your relationships that you surround yourself with, in all relationships. Like they should all bring out the best in you and not the worst. And if you find that you're in a relationship in a cycle, like what would you say to someone who's in that loop of a relationship that's not bringing out the best, but constantly the terrorist inside?
Right. Well, you've been there and it's totally natural. And, there's a few things to it. There's a few scenarios where that could happen, right? You have, well, the one and the most fun is just, you've got love drugs rolling through your brain, right? And it's a normal thing with humans to have, endorphins kicking off and the excitement, and people get addicted to it, right? Mm-hmm. And you get in a scenario,
Absolutely.
right? And we've talked about this a few times. We have, both friends that are in it, and we've had tons of people in our life. They're in a relationship and they look freaking miserable, and they're breaking up and getting back together and breaking up and getting back together. And the point is that they're addicted to the chemicals firing off in their brain.
Right.
And it's no different than smoking. It's no different than coffee. It's no different than heroin. In fact, it's probably more powerful. But if you, just like anything, when you get off it and just walk away for a while, then it'll go away. Mm-hmm. And then maybe even just as scary, because you're like, well, then what else do I have in my life? And I'll point you back to step number one is go get a life, right? And go focus on you. And that sounds kind of harsh to say go get a life, and it doesn't, not meant to be at all. It's meant to say everybody's passionate about some things, whether or not it's your kids or your job or music or something. And if if you say I'm not, it's just that you haven't given yourself the time or the space to go find it. Maybe because of step number two, finding, addictions with love or dependence or, fear or non-acceptance, or maybe you just haven't been out there long enough. You just need to go run for a while, and you need to, go move as far away from where you came from as possible and try as many things. And then, find things that you love and then shake them to see if they stick. And if they fall off, then be happy for that and go, search for something else until it does. But if you don't go through all those things, then you can't be a fully formed person. And then you don't have as much to offer the world, mm-hmm. because you're not your full self yet. Mm-hmm. But everybody has the potential to do that. If you're 22 or 42 or 62 or 82, it doesn't matter. Just go do it and find it. So yeah, I think that's it.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. I think, we live in a world now where there's just so much opportunity to go live life and to find your path, like follow your bliss, follow your heart. And you guys know we talk about that all the time here. And that's what we're all here discovering and remembering and finding that bliss. And I think that that's what brings us the best life. But when we're in those relationships that are challenging and don't bring out the best in us, and I know it's really hard. I mean, that addiction loop, I think the addiction part is actually the getting back together, because you go through, and the high of like being angry, because you get adrenaline from being frustrated and angry, and you get high off that. And then you come down, and then you're high off the love experience, like the makeup, sex, and all that stuff. And it's a really addictive loop. And pretty much every one of my relationships, well, not everyone, but majority of the big ones that were big catalysts for me, they definitely helped me grow and realize this isn't what I want. There's got to be something out there better than this loop that I'm in. And at the same time, we pick up a lot of the examples from our parents. So we've got to be the ones to say, I'm going to create my own story with the type of relationship I want to have in my life. And if you find yourself in that loop, just take a moment with yourself and ask yourself, is this person bringing out my highest?
Yeah. Yeah.
And if it's no, you got to make some hard decisions. It's not going to be easy. Like I personally had to pack up all my shit and just leave. And I had no idea where it was going.
Yeah.
So sometimes that's what it takes. Sometimes it's easier than that. Sometimes it's harder than that. Sometimes you've got kids involved. Sometimes you're married and there's all those components, but don't be afraid to take that step out.
If that's it, if you're
Right.
in the addiction, flip-flop back and forth, but there's many, stages before you get to something like that. Right. And it may be I come from a divorce family on multiple different levels. And it was always a big fear with me about that, about, relationships ending. So I think for my whole life, I was very fearful of letting them go and probably stuck around a little bit longer than I should have. Not that anything got bad or violent, or I was always super happy, and I, am blessed to, would still be friends with all my exes. But, it was always in the back of my head that I didn't want to move on to the next and go experience with what it is. When you're younger, those relationships are there to aid you to grow, and they're supposed to end, and that's okay. Yeah. Right. And then you get a little bit older, and then you're there in, okay, these could be the people, this could be the person, and you're there to thoroughly evaluate them, not in a clinical way, but to, say, okay, but you shouldn't be sad if they, you have to move on to something else. It should be moving on and embracing your time to be just by yourself and to strengthen up yourself. And then that will inevitably only attract somebody of even, I wouldn't say higher caliber, but you're closer to what you're going to be with.
What you want, ultimately.
Yes, exactly. What you want or what you deserve, and what we really work, because we rarely know exactly what's going to work. We actually
also don't know what we want, really.
Well, we know what we want.
We have an idea.
We don't know what's going to.
But then we get it. We're like, I don't really want this, actually.
It's because we're looking externally, right? But if we're looking internally, then you're happy no matter what. It's a foolproof plan.
Yeah, right? I did make a list of what I wanted. List by list, characteristic by character, like physically and internally. And there was one thing I was like, he's got to have really long, sexy hair.
Yeah. And I keep it trim for my swimming career.
Yeah. Okay. He's got a secret swimming career that I don't know about.
Yeah. I'm a Billy Zane impersonator at night.
It's all coming out now.
Titanic.
It's all coming out now. So, that makes sense. I mean, you are a mermaid, so.
I'm a merman.
Merman, sorry, babe.
It's merman.
But yeah, I mean, the physical exterior of that did not come true. But that's again where he's growing out his beard. I think he's going to grow it really long down to his chest at some point.
That would be weird.
Yeah, that would be a little weird. But no, I think you just have to be in that space of also saying like being single is so healthy.
Yes.
I think that's like,
it's so good.
I sometimes, that's the reason why you came. And I was like, fuck, I don't know, man. I'm like, I wanted to be single for longer. But it's just, again, timing, like I was ready and
we did kind of take our time.
We did take our time.
Because we met and we didn't get together for 6 months. So there wasn't like, but when it happened, then it happened.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. I mean, there was no going back from that moment.
Yeah.
So I do want to just add in, like, for women who are going to make their men listen to this podcast, you have a very beautiful way of showcasing being a gentleman, and I think that that's something that men, from my experience and just what I hear out there, don't often naturally have, but either need to learn or pick it up or, want to learn from somebody in that regard.
Get you everywhere. Yeah.
I mean, yes, but what got you to that place where we basically, backstory, like we had our crazy wild night. We were in the, bedroom 9 hours later and we hadn't even really gone on a date yet. And I was like, well, I know where this is going, and he looked at me and was like, can I actually date you now? Like, can I take you on a date?
Can I take you to dinner?
Yeah. Can I take you to dinner? And I was like, I think we already passed that. And he like refused.
Yeah.
Like, let me be a gentleman. Let me take you out. And that was huge for me. That was huge for me to be able to receive from a man the ability to just be taken care of in that way.
Well, I think it probably comes from a very strong mother that, you know, again, divorced parents. But my mom raised 2 boys on her own. She'd be proud to hear
Thanks, Mom.
that. Thanks, Mom.
I'm going to text her later and be like, thanks, Mom.
I did a bad impersonation of her earlier on this talking about tax accountants. So
she's also a Sagittarius like me. So actually both his parents were Sagittarius.
Well, I mean, I think, you know, okay, so when you do go to find your person and to make an impression, there's certain things you can control and certain things you can't control, right? You can't necessarily control how much money you have, and faking it is stupid and never works. And you can make yourself more attractive, right? Just stand up straight and you're automatically more attractive. And
that's like a primal thing too.
Work out a little bit, and then the whole thing, there's certain, obviously to a certain extent, but there's something you can immediately do with people is just, you know, treat them better. And, you know, when it comes to women, like opening a door for a woman goes over massively. You know, asking a woman out to dinner, you know, especially if you're already kind of dating, will go very far, or surprising them in different things like that. It doesn't have to be out to, you know, like a massive sushi place. But it could be, you know, your local thing, whatever you can afford, whatever you can do. It doesn't really matter. It's the intention in every way that matters. And you could stumble when you go to open that door, and that'll be a funny story you tell your grandkids. So it's all the intention.
Well, on the first date that we went on.
Oh, I stumbled big time. This is a good story.
He took me to this beautiful rooftop sushi place, and it was really magical. I was actually quite taken back because my story of him, and well, I actually thought at first he was just a bum living on a boat. That was my first impression of him, or some hippie living on a boat. And I was like, I'm really not interested in going down that road. Like, I need someone who has a job, you know? And then I find out, oh, he's got a career. And then I find out, oh, he also was a DJ. Like, there was just more layers to find out. And then he took me on this date, and I'm like, wow, this is actually really like, this is nice. You know, I had never gotten taken out on a date like that before. So he definitely got brownie points there. And then when we left the restaurant, we were having so much fun. We ended up going get another drink after that, and then forgot that.
I didn't forget. I didn't
actually,
know.
We didn't know.
No, the valet closed, and they had my car keys, and on my car keys are my house keys. And I live in like a mega security loft with no doorman, and it's basically like a secured bunker that you could never get into anyway. So we were completely locked out. And then I said, okay, we'll find a hotel room. But then it was this massive convention in downtown LA, and all the hotels were booked out. So we ended up paying way too much for like a Holiday Inn or something like that. And it was actually amazing and fine. And it's a good story we're telling years later. So clearly it worked out.
It was good. But I was like, let's just go back to my place. Like, let's go back. And I at that moment was really fighting with myself, because in most relationships, I've always needed to be the masculine role. And that was like the first opportunity that we had where I was like, oh, I don't have to solve this problem right now. Like, you are going to solve this problem, and I can let you do that because I don't need to. You're going to figure it out. And he did. And it was amazing. And there's just been so many, you know, invitations for me to really drop into my feminine and really birth this podcast too, because I wasn't always in the space to be able to feel safe and to feel held and to feel just in a place where I could completely drop into my feminine essence. I grew up as a tomboy. I've raced motocross. You know me, like I'm pretty much one of the guys, but the healing side of me, the other side of me needed to be able to connect to my feminine energy. And you definitely catalyzed that for sure.
Well,
supported that.
It's another way of opening the door.
Whoa, mic drop. I see what you did there. Wow. Well, I love having you on the show.
It's fun.
This has been fun.
It's good to meet everybody.
Yeah, I'm so happy that everybody got to meet you and hear a little bit about our story. Just a little bit. Just a little bit. We have there's so much. 3 years, all of a sudden, here we are talking about it and coming out with it. But, after these 3 years, we've just decided like, hey, let's go all in and do a bunch of things and get creative and collaborate. And he's super creative. He's DJ most of his career aside from that. And he got me playing the saxophone, which he never has played since that night. Which totally stumped me, and I give him shit for it all the time because I'm like, when are you going to bring out that saxophone, buddy? Like,
well, I played saxophone for many decades and then haven't for a couple decades because that doesn't really even add up. But it's been a hot minute. I do play the saxophone, but you would have to deal with me kind of it's called regaining your embouchure, right? Which is the muscle structure in your mouth that enables you to blow correctly, and it would sound like a slaughtered goat for a while. So as I'm always trying to be, a gentleman, I'm not going to necessarily do that in our house.
You have your man cave.
I know. You know what I should do? I should take it to the boat and then just wail on that sucker for a while. Okay.
And also, I won't mind. I have my flute that I've been trying to play that you got me, and it's pretty awful. It's really hard using your whatever you just said. Embouchure. It's not easy. So, but with that, we've decided to collaborate. As some of you guys know, I've talked to some of you that have listened before on the podcast or just follow the grams that we are both starting a business venture together. So that was a surprise. I had no idea I've always wanted deep down inside to have a partner who's willing to be not necessarily an entrepreneur, but just be able to create and be a pioneer of something. Because I've always felt that, like this inner knowingness that whoever I end up with is going to help catalyze something with me, and we're going to be able to be creative together and really express our fullest talents. And I think that that's, to me, like a beautiful relationship, because when you can flourish on your talents and your gifts together and find something that is in alignment with both of those, I think that's like the sexiest thing to me.
Yeah, I completely agree.
Yeah, it's like so freaking hot.
Well, and it goes back to longevity, like we talked about, right? So we're both very driven people, and we're both driven from a variety of ways. One is creating a certain level of freedom in our life, and I think most of the things that we do is very much tied around that, from the things we give our energy to the career paths we've taken, and then as we get the luxury to plan for the next thing, and then the next thing you think, okay, what's the legacy you want to lead? And then frankly, kind of get a little wiser about the world and saying, okay, what's the biggest impact I can make? And, the opportunity for beautiful impacts, if you can find a way to make it economically feasible to do good in the world and also fulfill yourself, then you've completely won in every way. And so I saw in you, the energy you're putting into, what some people would consider a commoditized industry, the cleaning industry, and absolutely crush it and take it that much further to building your own products and to really refining this formula in a very demanding place, in a demanding industry. And then, just as symbiotic, patterns will form, we found, okay, you've got those skills, I have these skills, and we've been refining this over a couple of years now. Mm-hmm. And then, when I'm taking it slow on purpose, because it's not about who gets there first, it's who does it best. Mm-hmm. And the people that we show this to are absolutely amazed by it. And I just see it, in everything that we do.
Yeah. So it's just been a blessing to kind of have something that we've found can merge both of our dreams. Because my dream has always been to a badass boss that's running a big company and changing the world doing it. But at the core of that, it's your ego talking. Exactly. Yeah. He can call me out of my shit.
Totally. I threw that away a long time ago.
You did, though. Actually, he definitely did. I'm 30 now, and that still shows up, and we all get to be in awareness of that. But my dream is to change the world. We'll just say that my dream is to be here and change the world, and through that dream, I anticipate to create a product that can and be the catalyst for that. So, that's my more soul speaking there.
Yes.
And you can see the difference.
Totally.
And so with that, we've birthed this new product called CLARYTI, and we're still in this sort of like pre-launch stages. We haven't officially had our launch party yet, but we're definitely getting there. And we're excited to share our journey, because it's going to be interesting to see it all come together, because we want to kind of combine our love for, your love for sailing, now my love. I don't really know how to properly sail yet, but I'll get there. And just the ocean as a whole. So we're teaming up with a nonprofit. We haven't quite figured out which one we're going to be working with yet, but a percentage of the proceeds for this business is going to go towards cleaning up the ocean. And
yeah, I mean, it's so you created a cleaning product that has 0 toxic chemicals in the home, that does a better job cleaning the home than anything else we could find. And then we took that, refined it to a next level, and then also replaced all the single-use plastics and made it an elegant experience, right? Mm-hmm. This is not turning into a commercial. This is the motivations we had behind this. And we're incredibly passionate about this. And then I follow on a minute by minute basis, the Great Pacific, trash pile that's out there, and the big efforts to clean that up. It literally, it's maybe 1,000 miles off the coast here, but it's right here. We see the trash washing up, and we literally live 5 minutes from the beach. So it couldn't be more close to home. And my dream of my entire life has been, one of many, but, to get out and see the world in a slow motion way, and really to truly explore it, not fly over it, which I've done, not, just go say, I've been here and here and here, but to really go out and see the world. And I see it not slowly, but quickly being destroyed. And it creates that much more urgency in me to get out and to fulfill my dream of getting out there and pulling you along with it. But also, if you can double that up and do good along with it, to create a message and a product and an economic mechanism to clean it up, right? To eliminate billions of bottles a day, probably a day, worldwide for sure, that plastic bottles that go into landfills and then by extension, the oceans, and do that in a way do it in a way that creates a better experience for everybody, to show them that there are ways that they can have an even better home, better health, and to do good in the world. That's exactly what we've been talking about this whole time, is finding balance between all the motivations in your life. Yeah. And so that's the thing we're so passionate about, bringing it back to our relationship. Yeah. Is really see the symbiotic, the ways that our energies and skill sets match up with this.
Right. Yeah. I mean, again, just, him bringing me to the ocean, realizing, oh, this is the why. Like, I don't want to be honest with you, I don't really want to start another business. I'll be quite honest with you. I mean, I do, but I don't. Like, now, after running and doing something that's, it takes a lot of my time, knowing how much time I've got to give it. But this calling is so right in front of us that it's like, you just don't say no to this opportunity. And the way that we approach our product and the business that we're building here is like, we nerd out and we have fun together, and we've been spending like one night a week really working on it for the last year, almost over that at this point. And it's now like, okay, I think this is something here. Like, we've got something, and it's just been fun to see how it's all the dots have all started to connect, and just how it really could make such a powerful impact versus just doing something because out of greed or money or the ego, like all those elements that can very much come, they're dominating our world. But to just be able to create this and do it with someone that I love, and also there's like the anticipation and eagerness and excitement to see how we grow from this too, because being in a relationship with someone is one thing, but then starting a business together is a whole nother thing. And that's going to bring up more depth in our relationship. And so I'm just excited to kind of see what will come from that, you know?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
So if you guys want to follow our journey, here's the commercial side of it. If you do want to follow our journey with CLARYTI and kind of get more exposure as we slowly let it out. And I want to say slowly because we've agreed to build something sustainably. Mm-hmm. And that is a part of sustainability. Like when you look to nature doesn't hurry yet everything is accomplished. But that's Lao Tzu, my favorite quote. And I think that's what we're really inviting into this business. It's not about how fast we can get there. It's about how intentional we can get there and why we're doing it. So you want to follow us our journey, you know, go to the Instagram at CLARYTI Clean or just go to clarity.com, sign up for our mailing list and let's sail together. And you want MySpace? Do we have a MySpace now? I thought he was saying
MySpace still a thing?
You looked at me. I thought he was saying like MySpace. I'm like, do you have something to tell me?
Anyway, yeah. Is MySpace still a thing?
I don't think so.
I don't think.
What do you want to share though?
No, I was the spelling of it. CLA.
Oh yeah, make sure you guys type in the spelling right because it's CLARYTI.
Yeah. CLARYTI.
So we're having a baby and it's not a human.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes. So I'm excited to share that with you guys. And thank you all for listening and listening to the rambles of Nixie and Cameron. This has been the official Nixie and Cameron show.
Nixie and Cameron
for one time. Yeah. So I hope you've enjoyed this and learned from a little bit more into my life and my relationship. And it's been fun to share this and also very vulnerable. I think I was actually quite nervous doing this.
Really?
A little bit.
It went by very fast. It was quite fun.
It always goes by really fast.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. But I'm super happy with what we shared. So
me too.
Thank you for coming on, my love.
All right. I love you, baby.
I love you. And I love all you. Thank you all so much for being here and supporting the show as you always do. I love you. I see you. I hear you. And I'll see you next week. And happy Valentine's Day.